Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to Normal Day in Russia. Today we're going to be taking a look at a fantastic piece of technology, the Mavic 2 Pro drone from DJI. But what makes this particular kit very fascinating to me is the fact that it includes the newly released Smart Controller from DJI. Now this controller has received a lot of buzz all over the internet, both positive and negative, in this last month since it's been introduced. And as soon as I saw this kit online, I decided to grab it so I could open it up myself and take a look at the controller, review it for you guys, and then test it out in the field, which hopefully we'll be able to do today, take the drone for a spin, and more importantly, give you an idea of how it feels to interact with the new Smart Controller. So I'm no stranger to DJI's drones. I've actually had several of their systems over the years. I love how easy they are to set up, how user-friendly they are, and generally how easy they are to fly, even if you haven't actually had any experience with this sort of technology in the past. But the most recent system that I had was actually the Phantom 4 Pro Plus, which had a very similar smart controller to the one that we're about to see today. So the controller had its own screen. It was also a 5.5-inch Full HD screen. The only real main difference was the fact that the screen was mounted over the controller. It was actually attached to it via a small bracket. But essentially, in a lot of ways, it was really the same. So you had a large, beautiful, very bright display attached to your controller, which made flying the drone in a lot of ways much simpler because you didn't have to worry about your phone being on you at all, as a matter of fact, while filming. You didn't have to worry about your battery dying on your phone. As long as you charge your controller, you were fine. Things like system updates on your phone wouldn't break compatibility with your drone anymore. App updates wouldn't break compatibility with your drone. So you had an all-in-one package, which in a lot of ways for me was a lot more comfortable and a lot easier to use. Plus you didn't have to fumble around with cables. You didn't have to connect your phone to your controller, then to your drone. It was a much more simple system that I really appreciated. So I switched over to the Phantom 4 Pro Plus from my Inspire 1 in a heartbeat as soon as I saw that it came out with the built-in monitor. Now the thing about this particular unit is I've been very excited to purchase this drone for a long while. I actually sold my Phantom 4 Pro Plus quite a bit ago, several months ago, because I had heard rumors online that DJI was going to release a brand new drone with 4K 60 capability about the size of the Mavic. And obviously the rumors were about the Mavic 2 Pro, which also was supposed to have a 1-inch sensor and it was supposed to shoot at 4K 60. So it kind of connected all the dots for me. And in my mind, I assumed also that this fantastic smaller size drone was going to come with some kind of display system similar to that of the Phantom 4 Pro Plus. And moreover, I was kind of upset when the Mavic 2 Pro came out because while it does shoot 4K and while it does have the 1-inch sensor, it doesn't shoot 4K 60. So the Mavic 2 Pro is a very advanced, very powerful and capable imaging platform. But if you want the more professional version, short of buying the Inspire 2, you're still supposed to technically buy the Phantom 4 Pro 2.0. In any case, so I've held off on buying this for several months, and again, once I saw a system came out with the controller, I decided to jump on the bandwagon and buy the system as well, even though it doesn't shoot 4K 60 FPS. That's something I'm going to have to deal with. So now we're going to go ahead and open this baby up. Okay, so we have a little sticker over here that needs to be sliced open, and I'm going to do just that. And then we can continue with our review. Okay, so let's have a look at what is inside of the box. All right, so right away looking at us is the Mavic 2 Pro, and it is a lot smaller in real life than I expected it to be. I've seen so many reviews online, so many photos of it obviously, and still it's so small. If you're used to flying strictly the Phantom series, and especially if you're used to flying the Inspire series, this thing looks like a toy out of the box in its folded state. Let's take a look at the controller, since this is what's... Okay, this is heavy. It's a very heavy controller. It's definitely lighter than the Phantom 4 Pro Plus controller, because that one has quite a bit of steel on it. This feels very well built. I'm going to take the sticker off in a second. Let's see. Here we go. Here's the release. Okay. Put that in there. It's well balanced. It doesn't really have a low or a high center of gravity. It's right in the middle, and the grips are really nice too. If I open up the antennas, this feels like a larger sized gamepad really from an Xbox or a PS4 or something like that. It feels very good in the hand, very easy to hold, and it is a beautiful piece of technology. You have to hand it to DJI. They know how to put their gear together well. Now this does have some kind of forked version of Android running on it. I believe it has Android 7.0 out of the box. And that means a couple of things for us end users at the end of the day. So first of all, you're going to be used to the interface if you've used an Android phone before. The gestures that you use inside of the system are going to be very similar and well known to you as well. But another thing that's pretty cool about this device, and the same goes for the Phantom 4 Pro Plus controller, is that since it's running Android, you can always sideload apps on here. So really, truthfully speaking, this is actually a 5.5-inch Android tablet that you have with you at all times. So depending on what kind of uses you're expecting to get from this particular system, you could also install some kind of third-party apps and run those very, very effectively. I, for example, use my drones for field surveying in my line of work, and one of the things that I think could come in handy is a field survey app. For example, a GPS positioning app that can give me a rough estimate of the size of land plots, for example, of the limits of land plots. So the GPS built into this controller will come in handy for that. You don't necessarily have to limit yourself to professional apps either. It really does depend on what kind of uses you're expecting to get out of this smart controller. But I mean, theoretically, this being an Android device, you could sideload Fortnite onto it, for example, and game during those long journeys wherever you're trying to get to film shots with your drone. So the possibilities really are limitless, especially if you're willing to fiddle around with the OS on here. We're going to take a look at the onboard interface in a second, but I'd like to go over the buttons very quickly as well. So again, we have a back button for the Android system itself. We have a pause button to stop the drone in its tracks wherever it is. We have a return to home button. We have the power on button for the remotes. We have the flight attitude settings button, so tripod, position mode, or sport mode, as well as a record button, a still button, and these are probably the adjustments for the gimbal. You also have two custom buttons that you could set to whatever your heart desires on the back. All right, so at the upper part of the device, you have one HDMI port, you have an SD slot, as well as a USB port. And on the bottom, you have a USB-C port, as well as a built-in microphone. All right, so I'm going to set this aside for a second. We're going to return to it in not too long. I'd just like to actually pull out this Mavic 2 Pro because I haven't actually held one in my hands as of yet. Okay, wow, so one, it's heavier than I expected. Pulling it out of the box, just judging by its size and the fact that it's primarily made out of plastic, I was expecting this to be somewhat lighter, but the bottom and the chassis in general seems to be made out of steel, so that's where the heft comes from, and obviously all the electronics that are tightly packed inside of this thing. But as always, and as you'd expect, the build quality is fantastic. For the most part, I don't think a lot of people have had issues mechanically or as far as build quality is concerned with DJI these last couple of years. Most issues arise with software. So DJI does kind of have a tendency to release systems that may not be fully optimized, to release software versions for their hardware that isn't fully optimized for all end users, and that has caused issues. You've had systems bricking, systems not working properly, and obviously flying away from their owners on occasion, so that's not too good. But those are rare cases. Again, for the most part, the quality of their software also falls in line with the quality of their hardware. All right, so now let's take a look at what else we actually have inside of the box. You have a second set of the thumbsticks for the controller. So generally speaking, you have the first set right under the antenna over here. They're just kind of tucked away underneath the antenna assembly, and then you can you can screw them inside of the controller. And it's very nice that they've made this system removable, just like on the normal Mavic remote, because these are definitely something that can catch onto your gear when you're putting it away, and it generally makes this controller kind of easier to handle when you don't have anything sticking out of it. The only thing that I don't really like, and a lot of people have really mentioned it, is the fact that they don't include any kind of screen protection out of the box. So a sleeve would have been very nice. All right, so it's a very basic kit, really nothing in here that's out of the ordinary or that's worth writing home about. It's a basic kit that has everything you need to get started and to get flying. So this is something that we're going to use today, and hopefully to great effect. Take a look at, again, the picture quality of the Mavic 2 Pro. What I'd really like to look over right now, since this is a new release, is the Smart Controller itself, to get a closer idea of how it works and generally to get better acquainted with it. Okay, so I've gotten the Smart Controller activated and set up, and that really only took me a couple of minutes, with the exception of the fact that immediately after booting it up, I got an over-the-air update, and that took a little while longer. But it's good to know that DJI is working on any of the issues that the controller has, and hopefully that'll alleviate some of those problems that a lot of users are discussing online. While it's booting up, I'd just like to mention once again the build quality. In the case of this controller, I feel like everything is well built. I like the rubberized hand grips, I like their form, and I understand why they didn't include any metal materials in the casing itself. One, that's because of weight, because like I said, this in and of itself is already pretty heavy. As a matter of fact, it's heavy enough that I think it would warrant having some sort of hinge or attachment point up here between the home button and the power button to allow you to attach a lanyard. That's something that would have really come in handy. And the second point is price, obviously. So this is something that's been discussed quite a bit as well. This is a very expensive device, so I think it retails for $650 on its own, which is exceedingly expensive. And here's the thing, it really depends on what kind of situation you have, what you need your drone for, and what kind of equipment you currently possess. So in my particular case, again, coming from the Phantom 4 Pro Plus, the last drone that I used, I had gotten pretty accustomed to having an all-in-one solution. So all I needed to have with me was the drone and the controller, and I was set. I would download the maps for whatever area I was going to survey ahead of time the night before making my trip, so I was set in that regard. As long as my two devices were charged and as long as they were up to date the night before leaving, I knew for sure that I wouldn't have any issues getting it to fly. I wouldn't have any issues recording the footage that I needed to take, and so on and so forth. Going back to a cell phone or using a small tablet like the iPad mini, which is what I used to do before with the Inspire, that would feel like a downgrade in my situation. So that's not something that I want to go back to having three devices where I need to worry about their intercompatibility at all times, where I need to worry about the fact that the cell phone manufacturer can release some sort of OS update that can break the phone's compatibility with the DJI 4 app, and so on and so forth. So if you don't want to have issues like that, again, an all-in-one solution is really great. And that's actually the reason why I bought this combo. If it wasn't for the availability of this screen itself, I probably wouldn't have bought the Mavic 2 Pro either. I would have waited for something else, maybe the DJI Phantom 5, for example, although who knows when that's going to come out. It's this screen itself that actually made me spring for the Mavic 2 Pro and made me kind of forego my usual restraint where I would avoid devices that don't shoot 4K 60 FPS. So when you buy the combo kit with the drone and the remote controller together, you actually save quite a bit of money. I think if you buy them separately, you pay like $200 more, which is quite a hefty sum. So if you're like me, if you don't have a drone today, if you're looking at the Mavic 2 and you think the Mavic 2 is a great solution for your needs, if it matches your needs as a photographer or an aerial photographer or a videographer, then I think that this is a system that's really worth looking into, the Smart Controller. I mean, this is something that's worth investing into, and the combo, the drone and remote controller combo, is something that may really make sense for you. All right, so as far as the OS, like I said before, this is an Android fork. So if you're used to using Android, this isn't going to cause any problems for you. All the main controls are here. You swipe down from the top and you get the system icons for all the settings. You can go into system settings, and this is just the normal stock Android experience. You also have this really neat overlay where when you hold the back button, you can actually go home. You can open up your recent apps and close them, adjust volume, and things like that. So it works again just like any sort of Android powered device. I called this a tablet earlier in the video. It's theoretically a tablet just because of the size of the device itself, although the screen is more of a cell phone size screen, again 5.5 centimeters, 5.5 inches. It's actually even smaller than the size of my Huawei Mate 20X. So for comparison, the Huawei Mate 20X kind of dwarfs the screen on this smart controller. But again, for many, my cell phone is a huge cell phone. It's too big for normal use, or it's considered to be too big by many people, although in my case it's the perfect size device. But I digress. What is great about this screen, though, is the fact that it's very bright. So 1000 nits, you're never going to have any issues outside, even in direct sunlight, getting a clear image, getting a clear idea of what's going on with your drone, and generally maintaining control of your surroundings. And since this is an Android-powered system, you can sideload any apps that your heart desires, and the only issue there is getting them to function properly, because some apps may be dependent upon the processor that you have in your system. Other apps may be dependent on Google services, which this doesn't have out of the box, so there's no Google Play Store, no Google services. So you do have to sideload everything, but if you know what you're doing, you could theoretically get everything to work, including Google apps. So just out of interest's sake, I installed Angry Birds, which isn't the most taxing app. Just about any phone in the world will run this no problem. But again, it's more of a proof of concept than anything else. You can load up a game no issue, and there is audio. I just don't want to get into any issues with copyright strikes. I can turn it on for a second. So, and it's actually rather loud. So this isn't really a device that I would use for gaming, obviously, because that's not what I need it for. I need my drone for professional uses. But you can use this as a media consumption device. So first and foremost, in order to preview your videos before taking them out on the big screen, this is a fantastic monitor to view them, because it is a full HD monitor. Again, even though it has a rather small screen size, the quality and the brightness, I think, more than make up for that. And I've also loaded up Firefox just because the stock browser is lackluster. But you're not limited to those apps, obviously. It really depends on what kind of apps you need for your particular field of work and how much time you're prepared to devote to get them to function properly on this device. Now, since you do have this very nice, very bright monitor built into this smart controller, that comes at a cost, and the cost is battery life. Now, a lot of YouTubers have spoken about the fact that while a 5,000 milliampere hour battery is great, it's a very large capacity battery, that's not going to last you very long when you're outside in maximum brightness, connected to your drone and actually flying it. You're going to eat through your battery relatively quickly. DJI says that you can get about 2 or 2.5 hours of flight time out of this unit when it's fully charged, but the general consensus in the internet community seems to be that they should have made an accessible battery hatch, so you can theoretically replace your battery or carry spares with you if you need that additional juice, or again replace your battery if it actually reaches its end of life or comes into some sort of issues like shorts out, for example. Honestly speaking, the lithium-ion batteries in here are probably going to last you longer, or they're going to last more charge cycles than you're going to put onto this machine, the smart controller and your drone. So I assume that I'm going to end up selling this and switching over to a newer drone before the battery actually quits on me. But even if that's not the case, down the line, I'm 100% sure there's going to be some sort of teardown video on YouTube that shows me exactly how to take this unit apart and replace the battery with some sort of Chinese analog down the road. So I'm not too worried, again, about user maintenance in the regard of replacing the battery, although I think all devices should have easily replaceable batteries. Now, the other issue people talk about is battery life. So even though 2 or 2.5 hours of flight time is a very respectable amount of time for the smart controller to last, that's only really enough for you to expend 3 full batteries on your drone, because nobody wants to launch their Mavic 2 Pro into the air when you have less than 10% on your smart controller remaining. So ideally you want to have it charged up beyond 15-20% in order to actually continue using it. But I'm not really worried about spending the battery too quickly, and here's why. Here's a 10,000 milliampere hour battery pack. You plug this baby in here and it's charging. There we go. So I've just extended my use by a factor of 2, basically, at least by more than a factor of 2. So again, battery life isn't really a big issue for me. I'll just put this battery pack in my pocket if I need to fly for longer periods of time and plug the remote in, and I can basically fly indefinitely. The thing that I probably won't have enough of is batteries, spare batteries for my Mavic 2 Pro to keep it in the air as long as this smart remote will last, especially when it's attached to a mobile charger. So that's really a non-issue for me. And one other thing that's really great is that this USB port on the back of the smart controller can be used not just for attaching flash drives, for example, in order to transfer data back and forth between the smart controller and the drive. So you can have internet access on your smart controller even if you don't have your phone with you, if you don't have some sort of access point nearby. And that way you can download additional maps, you can download additional apps, and generally just use it as an internet-enabled device. So that's a pretty cool feature of this device that I just haven't really seen or heard mentioned too much as of yet. Once you do start using the system, you do have this drop-down menu from the top, which will have specific buttons that are tailored for this controller and for using it with your drone. So you can turn your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on and off. You have some screen settings to enhance the brightness for being outside, for example. You can turn the HDMI port that's located here on the back on and off, and this allows you to connect to a TV, for example, just have that extra screen real estate while you're flying. Then you can capture a photo snapshot or record your screen and then set up some various other parts of the smart controller like the joysticks. Really, besides that, all you have is this very simple basic launcher that allows you to either go to your DJI 4 app, your gallery, or your installed apps. So there's not much to talk about here. All right, so how easy and quick is it to get airborne when you have this combination, the newly released smart controller from DJI and the Mavic 2 Pro? Well, it's very quick. All right, so we boot up the controller by holding the power button. While it's doing its thing, we open up the Mavic 2 Pro to get it ready for flight. It only takes about 10 seconds or so for the controller to boot up, but I don't like turning on my drone before the controller is ready. You press go on your screen to go into the DJI Go 4 app. And as soon as that's loaded up and ready for use, I turn on my drone. That's it, you're ready to go fly. I don't think that took much longer than 25, maybe 30 seconds. So again, a very quick, a very simple process, but it's not so much about saving those extra 40 seconds as compared to using the normal remote with your cell phone and hooking everything up and stuff. It's not about saving the time, it's about convenience. So really all I had to do, with the exception of opening up the Mavic 2 Pro's legs, the only thing I had to do was press 2 buttons and I'm ready to go. Everything is online. And again, if I was prepared the night before, if I had updated everything in time, I know for sure 100%, regardless of what's going on my phone, I know 100% that this system is going to get airborne. There aren't going to be any errors, any updates that I need to do when I get out into the field to actually start recording. So in my particular case, as somebody that didn't have a drone or controller at the time when this combo kit came out, it makes complete sense to buy this particular combination of devices together. So if you already have the Mavic 2 Pro, then I'm not exactly sure that it's worth spending the very large sum of money to buy this controller. Unless, again, you have cash to spare and it's not an issue for you, then yes, there is quite a bit of added convenience from this controller. All right, at this point, I'm going to head out into Moscow to capture some shots with the Mavic 2 Pro. I might add some more additional information about the smart controller along the way. In the meantime, let me know in the commentary what you think of the video quality out of this, and tell me about the controller. Is it worth it? Is the combo together worth it? Is purchasing the controller in addition to your Mavic 2 Pro worth the cost? Let me know your opinion. I'd really like to know. All right, guys, so I just drove out to the middle of nowhere to test out the Mavic 2 Pro. drone, as well as the newly released Smart Controller. Now, I've got to say, once again, this is really bringing back memories of my Phantom 4 Pro Plus. It's very nice to have something that's ready to go out of the box, where you just pop out the drone and you pop out the remote controller and you're ready to fly. You don't need to connect anything additionally. That being said, I have added some additional things here, as you can see, so you guys have a picture of what's going on. Now, one of the things that people were complaining about when this first came out was that there was no waypoints feature. The waypoints weren't activated by default with the Smart Controller when it was brand new. With the most recent update that DJI added, that's actually no longer the case. You do have the waypoints feature, as I can show you now. So we have waypoints, hyperlapse, quick shot, active track, all the same good stuff that you would normally have with the Mavic 2 Pro, and all of these functions are now active with the Smart Controller as well. Right now we're in rather heavy snow, I would say, and the drone isn't having any issues whatsoever holding its position. There aren't really any transmission issues or problems either, although the furthest I was able to get out on the 2.4 gigahertz band was about 2 kilometers. Now, like I said before, it is really nice to have the screen, and it's very bright. It's actually, I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera, but the screen itself is much brighter than this TV, for example. So it's actually easier for me to read off the data from this screen that's built into the Smart Controller than this very large TV that I have standing in the back of my car. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like if you did, and if you enjoy my content, also subscribe. There's going to be much more to follow. Until then, I'll be seeing you soon on another normal day in Russia.